Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and the word for today is community. Well, hi everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of insight into what happened last night. As some of you know, I decided to join the local community dinner that they had for Valentine's Day. And I wasn't really quite sure what to expect or whatever. I did ask what the dress code was when I got the invitation to join. And, you know, people said, well, they like to, you know, dress up a little bit. So I went, okay, that's just so I know. Now, you know, dressing up a little bit can be all sorts of different things for different people. So what I decided to do was to go middle of the road. I wore a long skirt, but a casual one, you know, with a top a bit like this. So, you know, that was sort of like, I wasn't wearing jeans. I wasn't wearing my sweats. I made a bit of an effort. I did my hair, you know, I had earrings, you know, those sort of things, you know what I mean? So that's how it was. And, you know, when I got there, I decided not to be exactly on time, although I normally would be, especially as I wanted to help. But I had heard that they had set everything up the previous day, and so they didn't, you know, need that help. So I sort of made sure that I arrived a little bit later because I was the new person on the block. That's the way that I looked at it. And so when I got there, I was surprised. I was only about 10 minutes after the time. Not, you know, I wasn't like an hour late or anything. But I was amazed how many people were there. The majority of the people were there. And I would say there were about 20 people in all. And so about, I would say at least 12 were there when I arrived. And of course, it was a bit like, if you've ever watched Cheers, you know, it was a bit like everybody turning around and going, Norm! You know, it was like, Sal, you know. And then I thought it was really cute because Norma, who you know I've met before, had, you know, patted a seat next to her and said, come sit here. And so I did, like a good girl. And then what I did was, before I sat down, I looked at the people that I didn't know and I said, it's going to be a lot easier as it's just one of me. I'm Sal, you know. And I just sort of left it to them whether they wanted to introduce themselves or not. and most did, I must admit. So that was the first thing. So half the people I actually already knew, which means that I've done a good job. You know, and they weren't all necessarily, actually I think most of them were part of the coffee group. So I knew all those people already. Whether I remembered their names or not was another thing, but I did pretty well. What I loved was that there were 5 husbands there. Now, what I know from, you know, just being a human is acknowledge the husbands, but don't give them too much attention because, you know, some people get upset with it. But as I will explain in a minute, that caused a bit of a problem for me a bit later. And I'll explain why. So it was, the idea was that between 5 and 6 they have happy hour. And I imagined everybody standing around with a drink in their hand, but no, they're all seated with a drink in front of them. And that was the whole deal, you know, bring whatever you want to drink. And what I liked was, it really was bring whatever you want to drink. It wasn't that you had to share it with everybody else there, which I thought is a good system because then nobody has to complain about, well, I brought wine and everybody else drank it, you know, that sort of thing. And what did I take? I know you want to know that. I took 1 bottle of beer and a can of lemon seltzer water because I love a shandy, and I don't normally put seltzer water in it, but I decided I would try that to see how it tastes. And basically it was like half and half, and it worked really well. Somebody asked me, what are you doing to that beer? And I said, making it so I can enjoy it. And, you know, basically that 1 beer lasted me the whole evening, and I think I filled the beer glass up 3 times. So, you know, between the two, it made a really good evening's drink for me, and it was refreshing and easy to drink, and I didn't get pissed as a newt. The food was awesome. They had a complete, you know, at 7 o'clock, the little local Chinese guy arrived with Chinese food. You know, and it was almost like he had cooked it himself, which I think maybe he did. It was incredibly fresh. You know, you could tell by everything that it was just freshly made, and it was so good. We had, what did we have? Let me think. Spring rolls. We had lemon chicken. We had sweet and sour pork. We had, oh, so many different varieties. We had rice. We had chow mein. You know, it just went on. It was incredible. And, you know, I think we were asked to pay $10 for it. Plus, I was asked to bring an extra $5 for the 50-50 draw. And I went, okay. So the whole cost of this was then $15 if I include the 50-50 draw. So the food not only was plentiful, more than enough to go back for seconds, which I did. And by the way, I decided, throw caution to the wind, I'm going to have a little of everything that I think I can get away with that's likely to not have too much garlic in it. The only mistake I made, perhaps the spring roll. I took one bite of that and I thought, you know something, I think that's got something in it that I shouldn't be eating. So I left the rest of the spring roll, which I was sad about because I like spring rolls. Then they also had dessert. And, you know, again, not what I wasn't expecting that. And they had decorated the place so beautifully. You know, they really did a good job of decorating. I was stunned, quite honestly. You know, there were Valentine's Day napkins. There were Valentine's Day centerpieces. There were, you know, it just was really nicely done. And I kept complimenting the committee. And saying, you know, you did a really great job here. And so plenty of food. And then I tried to meet the other ladies. Now, funny enough, the lady sitting on my left was not that sociable. And I found that quite difficult because I was sitting next to her. And so I was sort of talking to Norma, talking across, talking that way. But this lady did not want to interact at all. And okay, the only interaction we had was I got her some more chips, right? I noticed she went through a bowl of chips without sharing them rather quickly, so I got her another bowl, you know, which is the best thing I could think to do. So that was that. And then the people at the end to my left were the people that live apparently on my area across the road. So it's good to know them. And I made sure that they knew what number I was at. And then there was a really nice guy with his wife, and his wife had had a stroke. Apparently she had the stroke about 2.5 years ago, and the stroke paralyzed her right-hand side. But you could tell she really was full of life, even after that. And even though she was obviously struggling, and I made a point somewhere in the middle of the meal that I went across and I sat next to her. And I said, tell me about the stroke. Tell me what happened. And she did. And she kept apologizing for her inability to talk properly. And I said, you're talking just fine. You know, I totally understand everything that you're saying. And you are talking just beautifully. Don't even worry about it. No, I know I slur a bit. And I said, ma'am, you are just fine. You just carry on. Anyway, so I was delighted to talk to her a little bit. And, you know, my heart went out to her. And how nice of a husband to make sure that, you know, that she came to those sort of events. And I hear that he brings her home, you know, I think most weekends. She's in care facility because she, you know, she needs care. But I think every weekend he brings her home, which I think is amazing. I was very pleased to see that. Then next to her sat the lady I'd met before, who's the artist. And then, and by the way, there's a story about that one. You know, I have this thing about people dropping in on me without warning. Obviously, God has a sense of humor, because it has already been made quite apparent to me that people drop in on one another here without any warning and with an expectation of being allowed in. And I want to tell you what happened to me today because, it was funny. I was busy going in and out of my bedroom patio doors when suddenly this lady, the artist, arrived with her puppy, which was cute. And I said, oh, hang on a second, I'll come and open the front door. And she said, no, I can come in that door. And I don't know about you, there's something about somebody coming into my house via my bedroom door that I was a bit uncomfortable with. My stuff, perhaps, but I'd be interested in, how would you feel if you'd never had this person in your house before, and the first time they come in, they want to come in through your bedroom door? That tells me they want to see things, they want to see your bedroom, and they want to see your stuff. And I went, okay, I can handle this. Anyway, but it was quite funny. I'm going, obviously this is going to be a challenge for me because people apparently just, come visit, drop in, and whenever they feel like it. And I'll get used to it. It's part of my new training. So it was a great meal. And then during the meal, a piece of music came up, the theme from Exodus. And the guy of the woman who wasn't very friendly, her husband said, the theme from Love Story. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, it could be, but I think it's Exodus. And he looked at me and he went, your music. And I said, well, I could be wrong, but I think it's Exodus. And he listened a bit more and he said, no, you're right. They're very similar, but you're right. And I said, I know. And then I said, but what year? Because, me. So I started a trivia thing, what year? And then we started, and it was great because he had incredible music. And I said to him, I could listen to the music that you bring all day. And because a lot of it was from the late 50s, early 60s. And, there was, like stuff like Peter Gunn with Henry Mancini and all sorts of music that I hadn't heard for quite a while. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm quite enjoying this. But then it turned out that the husband of another of the ladies of the coffee group was on the other side, and he was really into music as well. So between the three of us, we were doing really well. And after a while, I thought, oh, I've got to stop doing this. I am busy interacting with two husbands. That will not go down well with certain people. So I just, I thoroughly enjoyed the trivia while we did it. And then I thought, no, I need to let that go because I'm going to be in big trouble if I don't. I think the guys were a bit upset because they were enjoying it too. The other really nice thing was everybody helped clean up. You know what I mean? When we sort of had enough, everybody started to get up and everybody helped clean up. The guys were busy bringing stuff to the kitchen. Somebody was vacuuming, somebody was breaking down the tables. It was very friendly, and it wasn't that any one person was or any group of people were expected to finish everything. We all did, and I was really quite proud of myself because I really chipped in wherever I could actually throughout the meal. Somebody accidentally, knocked a glass over and I ran to get paper towels before anybody else thought of it, that sort of thing. I wanted to make sure that I was who I am, which is a doer. So that was fun. I guess the question is, would I go again? And the answer was yes. And then the next one is Paddy's Day. I guess at whatever that Saturday is, they will have another event. And also at the end of the month, there are a group of people going out to the local golf club for lunch. And I will do that as well. Until I get to know everybody and decide who I want to know and who I don't want to know, I'm going to keep my options open. And also remembering that everybody I meet is here to teach me a lesson of some sort. That's the way that I look at it. And obviously the big lesson is going to be get flexible about people knocking on your door. And some of them might not even knock. They'll just walk in, but that's my sense. So I have survived the first community dinner. And by the way, I thought it interesting that one woman there, one of the two Sharons, one Sharon used to live here and still comes to the events because, she knows all the people. And so it was very interesting talking to her. And like myself, she actually downsized from living in here, in one of these units, and she's gone to go and live in an apartment. And I was saying, gosh, that's going to be a huge change for you as well. And she sort of did an interim thing where she moved from here to in with her daughter, and now she's going into a one-bedroom apartment. I think that's what she said. So that was interesting. But I got a feeling that she was really sad about that as well. Obviously she enjoyed living here. And amazing, actually, talking to the people. How many people have been here 20, 30 years? Interesting. So Valentine's Day community dinner, definitely a yes. And I have learned, I've met a lot more people whose names I probably won't remember, but at least I am doing my part to get to know them. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, take a risk as I did. By the way, I took it as part of my exercise program. I walked down to the community center here and walked back again, and that's nearly half a mile to do that. So, you know, I thought that was a good part of, I'm trying to, you know, find reasons to walk and to get that exercise in. Bye-bye for now. You know, the interesting thing was that they not only had the 50-50 draw, they also had a draw, you know, where we all had tickets underneath our placemats, and we had a draw. And I actually won the second one, and I got a gift certificate for the local eatery, the food store, the IGA, for $10, which is, you know, very useful. But the lady who had the stroke won the heart that I had sent down for table decoration. It was really quite funny. I sent it down for table decoration, but they thought I'd sent it down for a prize. And when I heard they'd done that, I was a bit hurt, but I decided, let it go. And then, you know, I'm a great believer in this, there are no coincidences. And guess who won it? The lady who had the stroke won the heart. And if you could have seen the look on her face when she opened it, I just literally went, good call. You know, it was magical. And so at the end, when she was leaving, I went up to her in her wheelchair and I said, you know, I'd like you to do me a really big favor, which is every time you look at the heart, know and that I care and see me smiling. And she said, okay, I will. And I said, good. And so my heart went to somebody who deserved it, I thought. What about you? Thank you.